Blog Talk Radio.
You're listening to RVD Radio.
Drop that down! The whole fucking show! Drop that down! The whole fucking show! Damn a needle! Dance of a needle! Man, Kushinator! Man, assassinator! Drop that down! The whole fucking show! Drop that down! The whole fucking show! A damn shot straight to your brain! Straight to your skull crack! You get down to straight to your brain! Straight to your skull crack! Drop that down! The whole fucking show! Drop that down! The whole fucking show! I will fly high! 5-star broad blast! You can't stop me! 5-star broad blast! Drop that down! The whole fucking show! Drop that down! The whole fucking show! It's all about the king of the gang! The balance of power that bends! You can't stop the king of the gang! The balance of power that bends! Drop it down! The whole fucking show! Drop it down! The whole fucking show! I will levitate! Flip, kick you in the yam! I will decimate! You can prepare for! Drop it down! The whole fucking show! 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 Drop it down! The whole fucking show!
Greetings, everybody. Happy, holy cow, is it December 21st, 2012? Is it really? Has anybody noticed that? So it's 12/21. Oh, yeah, it's not 2012 yet. Never mind. What the fuck am I thinking? Hey, I'm only a couple of weeks off. Am I the only one that does that? I never know the year. And I'll probably think it's 2011 until March. No, I won't, because I got the bite on it. You know what I mean? Jump start. I did that with my birthday once. Like, I think it was when I was 33. I had a couple months till I was going to be 34, so I just started telling people, yeah, I'm 34. You know what I mean? I didn't want to say, oh, I got 6 weeks until 34, so I just say, yeah, I'm 34 years old. And I got used to saying that. And then I had my birthday, boom! Guess what happened? I thought I turned 35. And I swear it was like months and months until I realized I wasn't 35. I was 34. I got like a bonus year. How cool is that? Who gets to do that, right? That doesn't happen that often. But it did happen to me. So, happy holidays, everybody. Doing a live RVD radio show on a Wednesday, which is how this thing originated. In case you're listening for the first time, you're like, dude, what is this? I've heard about RVD radio. You can't find it that much because we haven't been doing it that often, but we used to. Started doing it every Wednesday night. Got a hell of a following going, and then I got busy. And then started doing it every other week. And then every once in a while, whenever I wanted, then a long time went by, we hadn't done a show. Happy to be back. I'm trying to get back into the sync of doing them regularly. As of now, I'm planning on doing another show next week. Don't know what day it is, but it don't matter because guess what? Most of you guys listen to this whenever you want on archives anyway. So I just have to coordinate some guests together and do this thing. And today I'm very excited about a guest that I respect the hell out of that's coming on, Mr. Paul Armentano, good friend of mine. And that's because I respect him so much. That's why he's a good friend. Other than that, you know, he's an associate, but someone that I'm glad to call my friend. He's there when I need him. Always has been. And Mr. Paul Armentano is the director of NORML, the National Organization for the Reformation of Marijuana Laws. He's the deputy director, so that means huge high up. He wrote this book called Marijuana is Safer, so why are we driving people to drink? I highly recommend it. It breaks everything down into logic that everybody can understand. Love the book. I loaned it out a long time ago, and I just got it back a couple weeks ago, the guy that I loaned it to, and so now I'm rereading it, and I'm enjoying it again. So I called Paul to ask him if he could be on the show. I've been wanting to talk about marijuana. Obviously, a lot of people, of course you like to talk about marijuana. Well, I want to talk about the politics of marijuana, and Paul's the guy that's going to be able to explain things in a way that'll help us all understand what the hell is going on, because in California, which is the the first out of the 16 states that we have now that have medicinal marijuana programs, we're still getting raided. Even though Obama said he wasn't going to waste resources prosecuting businesses that were compliant with state law, boom, they're doing it. My favorite hangout, Venice Beach, Medical Kush Beach Club, boom, they were a victim. And we have all that documented on a documentary that I will be sharing with all of you that I'll be very excited to be promoting in the near future because it looks awesome. Hint, hint, Rob Van Dam, Tommy Chong, Kushinator, and all the excitement that you missed out. Camera was rolling the whole time, so we'll have that for you eventually. But we don't have it for you right now, so back off that a second, all right? I'm just saying my boy was a victim of it. We're going to hear from him today, too, and he's going to tell us his side of the story. In fact, he's on hold right now. I'll let you on, Kush. Hold on, dude. I'm doing this monologue thing, yo. And I'm definitely excited about calling up Paul Armentano. He's waiting by the phone. This book, by the way, that I'm talking about, it's not necessarily just something, if you're into marijuana, if you're curious, or if you just, want to read some logic. One thing that stands out in my mind right now from the book, it was talking about how annually there's like 100 and roughly 35 million, or is that billion? Dollars. It's not in front of me. I never get my millions and billions mixed up. Let's go with million. Yeah. Anyway, I'll get Paul to say it.
Who stole the fucking dope?
Matt Denton taking the place of Nikki Starr today. See, Nikki wouldn't have cut that. Nikki's great. We missed her. Hey, Matt Denton, thanks for coming in and stepping in as producer so everyone can feel safe that RVD's not handling the switchboards all by himself. Good to have you on. Mad Dog Detonator. What's up, Matt? How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent, man. I'm glad you were able to step in because everyone knows, even though I think I can handle it, I don't know. I'm taking the wrong calls and hanging up on people, and now we don't got to worry about that, dude.
Well, you know me. I'd probably find some way to fuck it up.
All right. Well, then we look forward to that, man. I had told Paul that I was going to call him at 11, not having this monologue in mind, so I'm hoping that he doesn't mind. I sent him a message, hopefully he got it, saying, dude, it's going to be like 11:15, but I'm talking a little fast because I'm trying to rush into that. Are y'all excited about the Christmas spirit and all that stuff, Mad Dog?
I want it to be over as quickly as possible.
Yes, that's how I feel every year. I honestly, as of now, at this point, I've probably only listened to 10 minutes total of Christmas songs. I avoid it.
I've
Christmas
listened
song
to
comes
zero.
on, I go the other way, so it adds up, with like 20 seconds here and there, and I'm definitely under 10 minutes at this point. It's almost over for me already.
Right. I actually saw, I think Sonia was like a bar humbug, and I was threatening to Photoshop a Santa hat onto her head.
Yeah, I'm probably rubbing off on her that way because I'm not much of a traditionalist. Everyone knows RVD is a proud nonconformist in every manner. And
right.
when it comes to holidays, I mean, you know, I think that's great for kids. I'm not a kid. I don't have kids, so it's not really like a big deal for me. And it's kind of silly when adults give me gifts. It's weird. It's awkward. I'd rather just keep on being productive and not taking the time off from a you know, normally productive schedule, all under the big hoax of the birth of baby Jesus. Oh no, I mean Santa and the North Pole. Oh, whichever one you want to believe.
Personally, I think it's just another way for the big corporations to just grab your money, just like every other holiday in the year. There you go.
Indeed, and that's a whole other subject, Matt. We'll do one of those. Maybe that's our subject next week. We can talk about that shit. Cool, yo. I'm going to go right on to Kush because you never know how long he's going to hold before he just totally disappears. Kushinator. What up, dude? Yo, man, check this out. I wanted to try to not bombard Paul like the normal chaos that is RVD Radio where everyone's talking at the same time. However, because it is the nature, I got everyone calling at the same time, too, including Bruce motherfucking Jingles. So I'm going to just go to him, too, because he will hang up in a heartbeat, that motherfucker. He'll be like, what?
Yeah, that's right, motherfucker.
What up, Bruce Jingles?
What's happening? What's up,
Matt Denton? Holidays, girls.
Happy holidays, I guess.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Dude,
I don't celebrate no damn Kwanzaa.
Head dog Matt Denton handling the switchboard. Good, because this is going to be a serious show, and I might not even get a soundbite in or something, and that's not what we tune in for, right?
What don't you fucking understand?
It says, it says Iron Sheik, smoke marijuana, and then when you hit play, it says that. Oh, unless there was...
Bullshit!
Bullshit.
There's
Yeah.
nothing like that, penis breath!
Okay, that was it. Hey, hit the one that says smoke marijuana.
You wanna smoke the marijuana?
Oh, why I get it. You hit something when I hit it, and that's confused. Got it. All right. Anyway, Kushinator, Jingles, Denton, do you guys mind if I give Mr. Paul Armentano a phone call?
No.
You got to get some airtime in first. You got something you want to talk about? Are you going to hang out for a while? Because don't hang up. I don't know how long he's going to be with us. If you guys all hang up, I'll hang up.
I'll hang out.
Dude, you got a fatty rolled, and I got like 2 fatties rolled to last this hour, so I'm all good.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
I'm going to give him a call then, because this is the motherfucker, man, Paul Armentano. I'm excited about this. He's the one that invited me out to the Normal Conference in San Francisco, where I got to speak, and told this story once before, but I was in Oregon at this. I'm multitasking, by the way. I'm looking up Paul's number as I'm doing this. This cannabis shop in Portland, Oregon. I went by a couple times. I said, you know what, fuck it, I got some time to kill before my flight. So I swung in there to this cannabis shop. It was Portland, I don't know, Portland Cannabis Club, whatever the fuck it's called. But anyway, went in there, and they had an RVD table. Like, the glass under the table was filled with RVD pictures, but they weren't wrestling pictures. They were pictures of me advocating, and most of the photos were from this conference I did in San Francisco that Mr. Paul Armentano had invited me to, so that was pretty cool. I was pretty excited about that. So here we go. I'm punching in his number, and by the way, Jingles, Friday night, Improv, Ontario Mills, right?
That's 2 shows, 8 o'clock. The
you doing both of them?
Yep.
All right, cool. I'm coming out there. I don't know if I'll do both of them, but maybe I'll give it some thought. You never know. I've never done that before.
The Dirty Show is crazy, man. They give out sex toys to horny drunk chicks, and they're doing a toy drive.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're doing a toy drive this time, so it's kind of like Toys for Twats. It's awesome.
Wow. Dirty Show, Ontario Mills on Friday. We'll make sure and plug Hello, Mr. Paul Armentano.
Hello, Rob Van Dam.
How are you, sir?
I am doing okay, waiting for your call.
Okay, yeah, thank you for waiting. I forgot to, when I talked to you yesterday, I should have warned you. I got to do a little monologue and warm up a little bit before we get right into the meat. But thank you. I'm so glad you're on the show. I haven't talked to you in a while, so I called Paul yesterday because I want him to catch me up on a lot of the current political statuses, and also on the line with us, Paul, because we're going to be talking about the law, whether it's the state or the federal law, which you have a great understanding of. We're going to be talking about the crackdown on the marijuana dispensaries. They seem to be going to different states and choosing certain states, but I'm confused because everyone got mad at Obama. They protested him when he was out here, and then these reports came out that said that it wasn't his call. It wasn't even Eric Holder's call. It was the state attorney that took credit for it and said that she passed a note by the guy underneath our attorney general, the federal, Eric Holder's desk, and he signed off. And so I'm confused. It seems like the feds are encouraging the states to make the move without taking credit. I'm really confused about it. But also, Paul, online with us is a good friend of mine who owned the most successful marijuana dispensary in LA, maybe in California. It was open for nearly 5 years. The big star of Hash Bar TV, Kushinator, and he's on here too, so he can tell you from the other side and tell us, that he was confused as well as they were tearing his place up, stealing his car, and breaking through all of his drawers that he was standing there offering to open. They had guns pointed, and he still doesn't know what the hell happened.
Yeah, he's not the only one.
Yeah, but I know that you've got some great insight. So that's, if you don't mind, my first question is, who's doing this? Is it the federal government, or is it the state attorneys that are deciding rather than following the state law? They're going with the federal guidelines. I'm really confused about that, Paul.
Sure. Well, it's most definitely the federal government, and the charge is being led by the U.S. attorneys for the 4 districts in California. There are attorneys for the Northern District of California, the Southern District, the Eastern District, and the Western District. But these individuals work for the federal government. They are part of the United States Department of Justice. Eric Holder is the Attorney General. So these 4 U.S. attorneys work at the command of Eric Holder, and of course Eric Holder works at the command of President Obama. So while everyone here is trying to pass the buck and saying it's not me, it's them, ultimately, if we're going to go all the way up the chain, the buck stops with Obama, it stops with his Justice Department. He's the commander-in-chief. He appoints the U.S. attorneys. He governs the actions of the U.S. attorneys, and they are clearly not going to engage in this behavior unless they have some sort of stated or, at a minimum, tacit approval from both the U.S. Attorney General, and that's Eric Holder, and from the President.
Okay, so that makes sense, of course, but if we're going to call it approval, then does that mean there's just some haters that are sitting in the state offices that are possibly initiating this? And if so, are they doing it in different states at the same time?
Well, the U.S. attorneys are not state appointed. These are federal appointees. The U.S. attorneys in the state of California, but they take their marching orders from the federal government. And no doubt in California, these 4 U.S. attorneys are leading this charge. They are sort of cherry-picking who they are going to target and prosecute and go after, and what sort of means they're going to use to go after them. And we've seen different tactics in different regions of the state based on the individual actions of the U.S. attorneys. In Northern California, U.S. Attorney Melinda Haag is using civil forfeiture proceedings. She's going after the landlords of the dispensaries and threatening to seize their property. In Southern California, we've seen the U.S. attorney there be more likely to actually try and criminally prosecute individuals, but they've also made broad threats that, in fact, they would go after publications that even accept advertising from the marijuana industry. So we're seeing different tactics used in different parts of the state because that's up to the discretion of the individual U.S. attorneys. But keep in mind, there is no doubt that this is a full-court federal press, because we're not just seeing the Justice Department involved in this crackdown. We're seeing other federal agencies like the IRS, which has targeted Harborside Health Center and the Marin medical marijuana institution that has been in place, actually just closed a couple days ago, but prior to that had been operating since 1996. The IRS is targeting these industries that have filed federal tax returns for more than a decade and said that they owe millions of dollars in back taxes. The Department of Treasury is targeting the banks that have relationships with these institutions and saying you have to drop these clients or else we're going to prosecute you. The BATF sent out a notice that said no medical marijuana patient can legally own a firearm or be sold a firearm. You would not have all of these federal agencies coincidentally cracking down on medical marijuana patients and providers at once unless there was a coordinated effort all the way at the top of the chain that was spearheading these efforts.
Right, obviously. That's you got to have somebody. You know, we went down, Kushinator and I, down to the Occupy LA movement, and we walked around the tent city, and everyone seemed really happy that I was there. And I was asking them, what do you want? You know, what is it how are you going to make changes if you don't have a leader? They said they don't have a leader or anything. But obviously they're organized and to an extent, you know, and that's that is related to this. A lot of people seem to discredit that, and I'm not trying to get off base, but it's related because those people, wherever their area of complaints are, it's all under the umbrella of the world elitists controlling everybody. Marijuana is a huge part of that. Obviously, if we legalize and utilize the plant for medicinal, recreational, and for material properties, it would change the planet. I always tell people, when people really don't understand why it's not legal, and I wonder if you agree with me on this, it would actually be like turning the river current backwards temporarily. It would be better off for the planet overall, but all the huge, you know, conglomerate businesses that stand to lose money if we did that, our economy does kind of depend on that. A big part of our economy, because it's set up the way it is, which is wrong, I believe that a lot of our economy does depend on marijuana being prohibited. In short term.
Sure, clearly marijuana prohibition, it's a jobs creation program. I mean, plain and simple. And because if it wasn't, there would be no continued justification for this failed policy to exist. Because by any sort of objective criteria, the policy has failed. It hasn't reduced use of marijuana, it hasn't reduced availability of marijuana, and those are the two stated goals of the policy. The policy's been in place almost 100 years. It's never achieved those stated goals. So what does it do? It allows the federal government and law enforcement and state law enforcement and local law enforcement to have an element of control that it can use to arbitrarily and discriminatorily target generally young people and minorities, and it allows for an encroachment of the federal government upon civil liberties, and it allows for the hiring of lots and lots of police, prosecutors, jailers, and others involved in the criminal justice system. And by that measurement, the program has been a wild success. there was just a study that came out earlier this week that showed that by age 23, 1 in 3 American young adults has been arrested in this country. That's disgraceful, and one of the primary reasons for that embarrassing statistic is the war on marijuana consumers.
No question about it. And then, of course, keeping them in jail is further business. But yeah, I mean the number of businesses that profit from it are it'll go on and on and on, and everyone could think of different things, pharmaceuticals and alcohol and tobacco, and when you get into the materials that could replace many businesses. So that's what I'm wondering, Paul. We're talking about this crackdown. We're talking about threatening the landlords with their property and all this, but the goal, it seems like they're going to try to actually end the medicinal marijuana program, even if they know that marijuana is not going to go anywhere, and the war on that will continue. But it seems like certain haters are actually trying to tear down the medical programs that we have in the state. Do you think that's actually their goal, or to keep it going?
Yes, I do. I clearly think it is the goal of this administration to not necessarily override the state medical marijuana laws, because they've been very careful not to do so. But what they are trying to do is eliminate the proliferation of these public storefront dispensaries, whether it's in the state of California or it's in the state of Washington where the federal government recently engaged in raids, or the state of Montana where the federal government recently engaged in raids, or even Colorado, which has the most comprehensive state licensing system of any state regarding these dispensaries, and the federal government recently has threatened to go in there. The federal government is clearly very uncomfortable with the fact that the public in states like California and Colorado and Washington and New Mexico are becoming very comfortable with the concept that an adult can go to an above-ground marketplace and readily and safely access cannabis for medicinal purposes. Because once the public is clear and understands that this distribution system, this legalized and regulated distribution system of medicinal marijuana is a success, then the public is naturally going to then beg the question, well, why don't we just legalize it and regulate it for all adults? And why don't we use a similar distribution system? And I think that is what the federal government is threatened by. They are threatened by the idea that the American public is very quickly going to understand that regulating and legalizing marijuana for all adults is a much better method than the failed policy that we have, and they are learning that because they are seeing that policy implemented for medical marijuana in their communities, and they're recognizing it's a successful policy. And that's the problem that the federal government has. They don't have a problem with the distribution of marijuana for medical purposes per se. They have a problem with the fact that it is a safe and successful method of distribution and regulation, and that it threatens the entire prohibitionist policy that the federal government has had in place for 75-plus years.
Right, which also the drug czar's job is to protect and keep that policy the same, not to listen to new information. A lot of people don't know it's illegal for him to change that. I found that out at a press conference. Also, by the way, as you mentioned in your book, Paul, that marijuana is safer, so why are we driving people to drink or to alcohol, or whichever it is? You mentioned a great point in there. It's easy for people to duck this whole argument and this issue by saying, why should we add another vice to society? You know, Paul's talking about if it's readily accessible and people can get the cannabis, they don't want that. If people say, you know, if you say, well, it's safer than alcohol. Well, why should we add another vice? As he points out in his book, it's not adding another vice on top of the vices that's there. It's offering a safer alternative. And I love the fact that you put in there, which never got any news coverage over here, but I think it was 2004 when France and London played soccer in Portugal, and I read this in your book. They're known for the big violent crowd fights because they get all alcohol fueled, and the soccer crowds, everyone knows, big brawls. So in Lisboa, as we locals hang out in Portugal call it, they actually for the day said no one's going to be prosecuted or in trouble for smoking marijuana, and then as reported by you, it went off without incident. The whole day there wasn't an incident because everyone was smoking pot, and then later on they went to the bars, they started drinking, they got in fights like you would expect. So I'm just pointing out, some things to the listeners as they're keeping up with all this incredible information you're giving me. So, but back to the crackdown and the feds coming in and all these things that you're mentioning of them taking the liberties away from medical marijuana patients. This led to a lawsuit, which I believe you're. I don't know. Are you heading the lawsuit?
NORML has a committee of attorneys, and several of those attorneys joined together and they filed a lawsuit in federal court. In fact, they filed it in all 4 districts in the state of California, challenging the federal government's crackdown in the state of California. And the suit raises a number of constitutional issues, but in my non-legal opinion, or my non-lawyerly opinion, the 2 most important challenges that I believe it raises, one, it brings up this question of due process under the law, because the lawsuit makes clear that the very actions that are being targeted in states like California are not being targeted by the federal government in several other states. New Mexico, for instance, is a state that for the last 3 or 4 years has allowed the state to license medical marijuana dispensers and providers. The federal government is very well aware that that is the policy in New Mexico and that dispensaries exist in New Mexico, but the federal government has never instituted any sort of crackdown in New Mexico. Maine allows for state-licensed dispensaries, but the federal government is not going into Maine and trying to disrupt the program. So we're arguing that there is a selective prosecution taking place here by the federal government. We're also arguing in this lawsuit something called judicial estoppel, and this essentially refers to the concept that a person was behaving in a way that they didn't believe to be criminal. And then the federal government turned around and said, no, in fact, you are behaving as a criminal. Essentially, we're arguing that the federal government, during this latest administration, has made several public statements and issued memorandums indicating that they were not going to target individuals who were compliant with the laws in their state. And in fact, there is even a federal suit where the Justice Department was asked whether the so-called Ogden memo really meant what it said, and was the federal government going to comply with what it said? Was the federal government really going to leave these individuals alone if they were compliant with the laws of their state? And the federal government in this federal court case said, yes, we are going to abide by this memorandum. And then, of course, we have over the last 6 to 8 months, it's clear that the federal government is setting aside that memorandum. We're arguing that that essentially equals entrapment. The federal government said it was okay to do this. People followed what the federal government said, and now the feds are turning around and saying it's not okay to do that. We're going to prosecute you. We're arguing from a legal standpoint that they can't do that.
Right, okay. Kushinator, you're still online with me?
Yeah, I got a lot to say.
I know you do, man. Kushinator, Paul, he ran the club down there, and because I guess it was the revocation, of the Ogden memo, I believe that's why you shut down, right?
I got raided on 420, And then when I opened back up 2 days later on 4/22, my lawyers were talking about the Ogden memo, and they said when they raided me originally on 4/20 that they were waiting for them to put charges against me, and they go, you must close. All my lawyers were saying you have to close because of this new Ogden memo, because now they can come back. The president gave permission to them now. Now they can come back and they can raid you because the president gave permission. And it's just like that was so not fair. That was like the secondary reason, you know. And then afterwards, what was the taxes? I got bills, IRS bills after I closed for $260,000, and then the Board of Equalization $70,000. This is after I'm closed. And it's like they want to make sure that I don't reopen. And then one of the charges that finally, when they brought the charges against me in court, there's 8 charges against me. One of the charges are for selling marijuana. I was in compliant with all of state regulations, and they're just like, it's like when the guy came down and raided me, he said to me, he goes, we don't know why we're here. That's what he said to me. He goes, but we were having, complaints against the other business that was beside me, and because I was beside that business, the Kush Doctor, they raided my dispensary, and then they brought LA Impact with them, which wasn't even a police investigation. That's another, which there had to do with also I found out with the FBI also, and then because the medical board was there to raid the doctor's office, with them, and then LA Impact came and they raided me, and they didn't even know why they were there. But they were like, we're just doing an investigation. And I was like, I offered. I go, I'll open any doors for you. I'll show you anything. I'll show you the books. I had everything organized, perfect, ready for him. And they go, no, this is how we do our investigation. And I was waiting for this day to happen, but not in that kind of way, you know, and it was just very rude and disrespectful because we had a lot of sick patients there. Dying patients, AIDS, cancer, and it's just ridiculous. And another reason why the government doesn't want marijuana legal is because I get comments all the time on Spectbar TV about people saying, just started smoking marijuana, and now because I smoke marijuana, I start questioning the government. And that's what it does.
Sean, you're kind of fading in and out. Like I couldn't hear that last sentence. Well, what is it that they say?
One of the things that I get questions or comments on all the time is people saying, you know, I just started smoking marijuana, and now I question the government. Now I don't trust the government. And I get comments like that all the time from people, and that's what it does. It opens your mind. And the government wants you on alcohol. They want you stupid. They want you dumbed down so they can pass these new laws like the one that they just passed where they can send in, you know, the military to basically arrest anybody. They're taking away our rights, you know, as gun holders for people that, like, are in the South. You know, this is like how they rely on possibly, I guess, what we do, you know, a lot of them, you know, shooting deer or whatever, you know. They take that away from people. They're taking lifestyles away from people. They're taking all of our rights away, and it's just not fair. And also, when marijuana became illegal in the early 1900s, that's when our cancer rates started to rise. And then now that these tests have proved that it cures you from cancer. Marijuana smoke, it cures you from cancer. And also, kids that have autism, these little kids that have autism, these pills aren't working. And they're giving them marijuana. Marijuana is working for these kids that have autism, where these general pills are working. So that's basically saying, and our autism rates are rising too with our children being born. That's basically saying these cannabinoids are in our system. They've been in our system for thousands and thousands of years. You take them away from us, we're going to start to get cancer rates rise. We're going to start to get autism rates rise. They just want us to be stupid. They want us to, you know, go down. It's just not fair. It's really not fair. And especially with all these charges that they have against me. They got the most ridiculous charges like selling marijuana or distributing marijuana or purchasing marijuana. These are some of the charges that they have against me. And I had all the paperwork saying, and I was always checking with my lawyer every week. You know what I'm saying? I did everything right, by the rules, by the books of the state of California. And I got
Right, and you've had the local police and different members of the inspection boards come through your place and tell you, great job, I wish all the other dispensaries ran like you did. Obviously, you're a victim of many of the things that Paul has brought up. You know, you said you had some questions. Can you think of forming your thoughts into a question that maybe Paul could answer for you?
Well, basically, all my questions were answered when they came down and they rated me. And they said to me, I asked them, I go, why are you rating me and not rating everybody? And they go, because you had the complaint of the doctor's office beside you. And all those, and I go, what about all these other dispensaries that are all around here? That there's illegal dispensaries. We have all the paperwork. There's illegal dispensaries that don't even pay their taxes, nothing. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, well, we don't have any complaints on them, so we don't care about them. Basically, they want you in a dark alley. They don't want to hear about you. They don't want to know about you, and that's what they want. They don't want it out in the public. They want alcohol in the public. They want tobacco in the public. They don't want healing, stuff in the public, and that's basically what it is. Do you agree with me, Paul?
Well, they definitely don't want this public. I mean, that is clear. In fact, one of the things that the U.S. attorneys stated when they held their press conference several months back, a question was asked of them, and they said, what about these local jurisdictions like Los Angeles, like Berkeley, like Oakland, like Santa Cruz, where they're passing these municipal ordinances to license and regulate these sort of dispensary operations? What would you do in those cases? And the U.S. attorney said, well, we would consider local politicians who pass these sort of regulations to be involved in the facilitation of a criminal act. They would be in facilitation of breaking federal law. So the U.S. attorneys literally claimed or tried to threaten the policymakers at the local level that are trying to pass common sense regulations and governance over this industry. So it's clear the federal government, on the one hand, wants to say we're coming into California because things are out of control and we're only going to target the most egregious offenders, but at the same time, they're doing everything they can to discourage any sort of common sense regulations from even being enacted in California, and they're targeting the individuals who are typically most compliant with the regulations in California. They've gone after Richard Lee here in Northern California, who operates Oaksterdam University and operates coffee shop Blue Sky, who has been a major mover and shaker politically in the city of Oakland now for more than a decade. There's nobody in Northern California more compliant than he is, yet the federal government targeted him. They targeted this dispensary in Marin that had existed since 1996. They're targeting Harborside, which is now the focus of this Discovery Channel biography show. They're going after the most prolific and the most compliant because they want to drive this industry back underground. They want it out of sight, out of mind, and they don't care who it hurts to drive this industry underground, just like Sean said.
Right. Okay. Well, listen, and that makes me think of what I read about Newt Gingrich. Did he actually want marijuana smugglers put to death at one point?
Yes, it's even better or worse, depending on your perspective. Newt Gingrich, when he was a first-time congressman in the early 80s, actually sponsored the first federal bill in modern history to re-legalize marijuana for medical purposes. His name is on the bill in 1982. Then, by the mid-1990s, he had shifted his position so greatly that you're correct, Rob. He actually sponsored legislation that said you could be put to death in this country for importing a relatively small amount of marijuana, simply more than a couple ounces. He supported the death penalty for that sort of activity. And, of course, this is an individual who bragged about the fact that when he was in college or in university, he used marijuana because, well, it was simply what you did at that time.
Yeah,
Nothing like that, penis breath.
My soundbite didn't work, dude.
Oh my God!
That's what I was trying to hear. These soundbites. All right. So anyway, everybody up there right now on the this far on the in the presidential run, to me, looks as shallow as a stand-up cardboard cutout, except for one guy. So I just got to ask your opinion, because you're like the smartest guy that's ever been on RVD Radio, Paul. What's your opinion of Mr. Ron Paul?
Well, I got to admit, I've actually known Ron Paul for many, many years. My father used to do some economic advising for him back in the 1980s. So I've known about Ron Paul for a long, long time. He's an individual who's always been very consistent on what his principles are and where he stands. He certainly doesn't just walk the walk, but talks the talk, or vice versa, I guess, when it comes to limiting the power of government. And he's certainly in line with my own personal beliefs when it comes to the futility of the drug war and the idea that we need to get the federal government out of drug prohibition. He is a co-sponsor of legislation that we got introduced in this Congress several months ago that essentially would repeal the federal prohibition of marijuana. So, you're not going to find not just a presidential candidate, but frankly, another member of Congress who more ardently believes in repealing marijuana prohibition and has done more as a politician to try and repeal marijuana prohibition than Ron Paul. And, of course, you also have Gary Johnson, who just yesterday declared that he's going to run as a libertarian candidate. Gary Johnson's the former two-term governor of New Mexico. He is also very outspoken in the futility of marijuana prohibition. He has said that if elected president, he would even engage in pardoning marijuana prisoners. He's also somebody worth looking into who may not quite yet have the name recognition of a Ron Paul, but both of them are very good on this issue. And you're right, Rob. Looking at the rest of the field, there's not a lot to be hopeful about.
Yeah. Oh, someone's calling on the other line. Let me let that beep again. So I don't know if you can hear me. Phone. Boom. Okay, there we go. So yeah, that's really good to hear you say those things. I don't even know if you can. I don't know if I'm fading when the phone rings on the other line. Damn it. Anyway, I'm going to go on as if it's not. So, anyway, obviously, the only way things are really going to be right is if the federal government does make a change. If they got out of it, that'd be great. But in the meantime, having marijuana classified as a Schedule I is ridiculous. And I got to say this because every time I say it to virgin ears, it's very it's useful information to have. It's very impactful. Check this out. If you don't know, marijuana since 1970. Thank you, Richard Nixon. Schedule I, controlled substance, the most dangerous, non-medicinal. That's why you can't actually prescribe it. Most harmful drug, along with heroin and acid. Schedule II, currently, these are the laws they use to arrest people or kick their doors in and shoot them and kill them and take all their shit. Schedule II, meaning higher in medicinal value, safer for you, basically a better choice than marijuana for you. Cocaine, meth. I'm not lying. Google it. That's the thing. People hear me say it. They may say, well, he just wants to get stoned. I like this. The ignorant fan will tell you, RVD likes Ron Paul just because he wants to legalize marijuana. RVD just likes being in TNA because he can smoke marijuana. That person will tell you that RVD is successful and has money because he's lucky. So my question to you is, Mr. Knowledge, we got two representatives. I think it's from the two governors, I think from Rhode Island and Washington, that are recommending to the federal government to reclassify marijuana. But from what I'm reading, is this something that we shouldn't be really too hopeful about, or is that like a big deal, like it sounds like it would be?
It'll be a bigger deal if we get more governors to sign on, and a couple more have. the governor from Vermont and the governor from Connecticut have signed on as well. I think it would be great if your listeners and people in California encourage Jerry Brown to sign on, representing a much more politically influential state like California than necessarily a state like Rhode Island. But I got to tell you, individuals and different groups have made efforts to reschedule marijuana going back to the early 1970s. NORML actually brought the first administrative petition before the DEA to reschedule marijuana in 1972. We didn't get a hearing until 1986. We didn't get a ruling until 1988, and we got a ruling that was favorable. Rob, you probably know some of the often quoted material from that ruling that says it would be arbitrary and capricious to keep marijuana in Schedule 1, and that cannabis is one of the safest therapeutically active substances known to man. That comes straight from the DEA. It doesn't come from us. It comes from the Drug Enforcement Administration. But ultimately, it didn't matter. Marijuana did not get rescheduled. I personally, at this point in time, looking at the CSA, knowing how the Controlled Substances Act was developed, I don't think marijuana belongs in Schedule 1, but I don't think marijuana belongs in the Controlled Substances Act, period. Rather than arguing for rescheduling, making it a Schedule 2 drug like cocaine, like you said, or a Schedule 3 drug, I think marijuana should be descheduled. It should simply be taken out of the CSA. It doesn't meet any of the criteria in the CSA for any of the schedules. The Controlled Substances Act is there to regulate the use of prescribed synthetic drugs. And those are the sort of substances that are Schedule 2 through 5. It doesn't regulate relatively safe herbal supplements. Echinacea is not in the CSA. St. John's wort is not in the CSA. Kava is not in the CSA. These are herbal, botanical, therapeutic substances. That's what marijuana is. I think cannabis and all of its organic compounds should simply be removed and be treated in a manner like we treat echinacea.
Okay, great. One question, real quick, just playing devil's advocate. Is it an intoxicant, and should there be some kind of control system so that kids don't get it and run around high all day?
Well, it clearly has some mood-altering effects, as do many of the herbal supplements I also reference, as of course does alcohol. And because it has mood-altering effects, I certainly think it should be argued that there should be some sort of common-sense regulations, age restrictions, licensing regarding who sells it, rules regarding where and when it can be appropriately used. Look, the fact that cannabis isn't innocuous, the fact that cannabis can be abused, that it can be mood-altering, is, in my opinion, an argument why it should be regulated, rather than prohibited where we have no regulations. If marijuana was innocuous, then we could say, hey, it doesn't matter who uses it and where they use it. But because cannabis can alter mood and can alter judgment, that's why we need common sense regulations regarding who can use it, when they can use it, and what use is appropriate. And right now we don't have any of those regulations because it's a Schedule 1 drug and all use is prohibited under federal law. That's the policy that doesn't make any sense.
Very, very well put, as is everything that you said. I really appreciate you staying on the show for so long. We got about 7 minutes left, so I want to ask my boy Bruce Jingles, who's been holding on the whole show. Any questions pop in your head, Bruce Jingles?
Actually, you answered every question I have. I've
awesome.
always had.
Kushinator?
Especially about that it's the DOJ that was behind the crackdown. Because honestly, Paul, if you agree with me, everybody's blaming Obama for everything. Am I right or wrong?
It seems like
it. I do think a lot of people blame Obama. I think Congress gets a free pass oftentimes when they shouldn't, because Congress actually makes the laws, not the president. But in this case, because so much of this action is taking place administratively, I do think it's fair that Obama should get at least some of the heat on this.
Yeah, well, because basically what he said in the beginning, that he's not going to waste federal money pursuing the medical marijuana industry.
Yes.
which was a year and a half ago.
He made that clear, and he clearly has not followed through on it. And, you know, he also has had other opportunities to talk about this issue. This is, of course, a president who's very articulate, and if you've noticed, he's either tried to laugh the subject off or change the subject. You know, it's embarrassing. This is a serious public policy issue. He's the president of the United States, and he refuses to engage in even an adult discussion. And I think that's really disappointed a lot of people.
In the White House.
I have a
he's
comment.
Smoking out in the White House.
Okay.
And I'm telling you right now, he's smoking out in the Lincoln bedroom, and his wife with those big-ass Apollo Creed arms are rolling blunts for him. I'm telling you.
Nice. Kushinator, what is your question, sir?
Well, I just have a comment. I agree with what Paul said. I think that it should be legal 100%. I don't think there should be any regulations on it. It's an herb. I think everybody should be growing it. I think that legally you should be growing marijuana to help our environment. Everybody in the world.
Obama is a Mac Daddy.
You're a farmer. And I think that there should be no laws, regulations on it. I think it should be up to the parents to decide if their children should smoke marijuana. But that's just my decision, and I think that everybody should be growing it, smoking it, take out the tobacco, put in the marijuana, and watch Hash Bar TV.
Very well put. Hash Bar TV, yo. All right, listen, Paul, is there anything like that you haven't said that you want to say, whether it's plugging something or at least telling people, you know, where they can find more information or just any points that you feel like you haven't given?
Yeah, most definitely. If folks want to get involved with NORML, they can go to www.norml.org. We actually have our federal lawsuit online. We also have a very active California chapter, and they can go online at canormal.org to get involved with them. And certainly I would encourage folks to pick up a copy of Marijuana is Safer, So Why Are We Driving People to Drink? Rob Van Dam lent some serious credibility to that book with his endorsement, and of course I always appreciate that.
Great book. That it does not have a shelf life, that book. Pick it up now or anytime. Very easy for everybody to understand, and it's just so logical. So definitely made me a bigger fan of yours than I already was. Kushinator's online still, Jingles. I'm going to go to this poor guy that's been holding like forever, but I don't know his information because I didn't have the producer on yet. 703, right? You with us? Nope. All right, I don't think so. I don't even know. I know this dude from West Virginia. What up, dude?
Hey, Rob Van Dam. I'm a big fan, and I wanted to say that I have severe cerebral palsy, and marijuana is not legal in my state, and I have bad muscle spasms, and I will say that it does help you after you have smoked marijuana. And also, I wanted to ask real quickly. I've been trying to get in touch with you. Would you mind being a guest on my blog talk radio show here soon?
First off, you know that I hope that you are able to find some cannabis if you find that's helped you, man. Quality of life is everything. We're only here once, as far as we know. So, move to another state. And very, very busy. You can talk to Mr. Matt Denton, hit him in the chat room on scheduling stuff. And we're almost out of time. But this guy, Jonathan, on Skype has been holding for a while. So I'm going to go to you two, our last caller. What up, Jonathan? All right, dude, I can't hear you at all, man. That's not to reflect on Skype, everybody. Skype.
It is a reflection on Skype.
It is? I can hear you.
That's horrible.
Yeah, all right, whatever, dude. He's gone. But anyway, dude, what a fucking show, man. That was the shit. We got so much information on here. Super stoked. I'm going to be plugging this. A lot of people need to listen to this. Thank you, Matt Denton. And Bruce Jingles, Friday, we're going to be at the Ontario Improv Friday night. I'll probably hit that 10 o'clock show.
That's
it's
right.
8 and 10. Where do they get information on that? BruceJingles.com? Something like that?
Yeah, you can go to www.improv.com, go to OntarioImprov.com. It's called The Dirty Show. It's 8
I'm
and 10
trying to
o'clock.
plug your website. I know it's on there. You're probably still using MySpace, though, aren't you, motherfucker?
No, I got my Facebook. Comedian Bruce Jingles on Facebook, or Bruce Jingles on Facebook, or www.brucejingles.com.
Word. And Kushinator said, watch Hashbar TV, right? Hey, do we have a link to our documentary at Kushinator.com yet? We don't, right? A trailer?
You can go to medicalcushbeachclub.com and watch the trailer.
Shit, dude. This is a project I'm really excited about that I'm not talking a whole lot about yet, but will really soon. And it's a documentary on the rise and fall of the Medical Beach Club. It's fucking awesome. I'm not kidding. It's really good. I'm super stoked about it. RVD, Tommy Chong, Kushinator. Check it out. Everybody have a good night.
You're
listening to your song, dude.
RVD Radio.
Just has this at the beginning.
Drop that down! The whole fucking show! Drop that down! The whole fucking show! Dance Dominator! Dance Dominator! Dance Kushinator! Man Assassinator! Drop that down! The whole fucking show! Drop that down! The whole fucking show! Again, you're straight to your brain! Straight to your skull crack! You get down to straight to your brain! Straight to your skull crack! Drop that down! The whole fucking show! Drop that down! The whole fucking show! I will fly high! 5-star broad blast! You can't stop me! 5-star broad blast! Drop that down! The whole fucking show! Drop that down! The whole fucking show! It's all about the king of the gang, the balance, the power, the sense. You can't stop the king of the gang.